You've long since forgotten your past life. Once you lived in opulence with servants and silk. You were exiled and disowned and forced to feed on scraps. You stole and fought to survive. You heard tale that a recruiter was in town for the fighting pits of Red Rock. They offered coin if you bested their monsters. You were forced to choose the gutter or the chance at something better. So you signed on. Some time passed and the fighting began. You were offered a quarterstaff or a knife. Though you knew them both, you picked the knife. You entered the arena with a psionicist and a paladin. The psionicist remarks, "Looks like a brogue. Them creature doesn't stand a chance to answer me from range. Best you two charge in and I'll pepper him from a distance." Needing no more encouragement, the paladin charged up to the feet of the orange-skinned giant. He caught at his ankles with a knife. The giant bent over and with 4 hands grabbed the paladin by his limbs. He proceeded to tear him into 4 pieces with blood and viscera spewing forth. Will you survive an encounter with a brogue? So first off, what does Boo tell you about the brogue? So brogues are 4-armed giant kin. They are 15 feet tall and have a burnt orange skin. Brogues are said to have flat noses, pointed ears like an elf, though the art looks like normal ears, and shoulder-length hair emanating from the back and sides of their head, with the top being bald. Brogues can wield weapons with their 4 hands, but are said to prefer beating foes to death with their bare hands. Brogues are also said to be practically non-verbal and have no written language, instead relying on primitive sign language and grunts. Brogues are said to be used in gladiatorial arenas as monsters for gladiators to fight. Brogues are said not to understand kindness or reciprocity, and views those who help them with wariness. Brogues often exist as solitary wanderers or survivors, and live a simple life. What about stats? Well, brogues fall into the tried and true archetype of big bag of hit points, low AC, brute kind monster. They are unique in their ability to use all 4 arms to attack in melee, or to use all 4 arms in what's called a quote-unquote hideous rend, which grapples a large or smaller creature with a dex escape DC of 16. Those who fail the check are dealt 8d10 plus 5 bludgeoning damage, which is an average of 49. Any creature dropped to 0 this way is killed and torn into 4 pieces. Next, let's talk about what Boo does not tell you. So, brogues originated in the Dark Sun setting, with their appearance remaining much the same. There are, however, some lore tidbits to glean from previous editions. So, in 2nd edition, brogue culture is said to be that of Stone Age hunter-gatherer society. They are said to use simple sleds, which they drag along the ground, to carry what little possessions they have. Brogues have not mastered the creation of fire, but understand that it can be useful. They're said to be drawn to fire like moths, surprising resting travelers. Because brogues can't communicate a formal language, they can't communicate with someone telepathically. Unlike other giant kin, like ogres or hell giants, brogues don't regard other humanoids as prey, but they may sometimes scavenge on non-brogue corpses. The last thing from 2nd edition I want to discuss is the concept of a renegade brogue. These renegades learned from other cultures how to do advanced things like forge armor or fight thoughtfully. These renegades avoided their simple tribal relatives. Now, there was no official printing of the brogue in 3rd edition. The next appearance was actually in 4th edition, where the apostrophe in the name was removed. The 4th edition brogues were largely identical, the changes being that brogues now have a primitive religion centered around spirits and elementals. They were also downsized from huge to large, a change which was undone in 5th edition. They now loathe magic, bringing them in line with other races in the Dark Sun setting. 4th edition also brought changes to the renegade brogue, making them a sorcerer that was outcast from their society. So in conclusion, all the interesting facets of the brogue lay in previous editions. The concept of like 20% of solitary brogues encountered in the wild being renegades with the power to wield magic is very interesting. The monster as presented in 5e is just a big dumb brute with little to no redeeming qualities. The one tidbit I liked is the mention of them being used in gladiatorial arenas. I can imagine them being introduced by ripping a gladiator limb from limb in front of the party to show off their strength, but maybe if you're running like a Stone Age campaign, this monster could fit in as like a rival tribe, but in a science fantasy setting like Spelljammer, this monster really has no redeeming qualities. I give this monster a 4 out of 20.